the early 1900s, 70% of the world's Christians lived in Europe. It now has the smallest number of evangelicals in the world. Evangelical churches in Europe are a quarter of the size of the equivalent church in Sydney.
The churches just testify to the fact that Europe has been heavily influenced by the church, but they are almost always empty. Hardly any people there around, just tourists making photos of the buildings.
We are so prosperous, at least for Western Europe, like we have everything that we need, so there is no apparent need for God anymore.
Europe is one of the top 5 holiday destinations for Australians, and 250,000 cities, towns and villages in Europe have no evangelical church.
We know that Europe is a place of huge spiritual need, and the number of churches there, evangelical churches, that are teaching the gospel is tiny. So,
Christianity, in the best case, is unnecessary, and in the worst case, it's a threat.
The Europe of today is in great darkness, blinded by materialism and comfort to their deepest spiritual needs. Europe needs people like you.
We all know the Bible passages that talk about dying to self and living to Christ, and putting on and putting off. But when you are in a new culture and a new language and a new context and everything's new, the reality of dying to yourself, to your own needs, for the sake of the gospel is actually really pertinent. Yeah, so we need people who are willing to die.
The Apostle Paul implores us to take the gospel to those who haven't heard, that we might be penetrating the darkness with the light of the gospel of Christ. Under God's mighty hand, ECM seeks to penetrate this darkness with vibrant, growing churches that preach the gospel and train local people to be lights for Jesus' sake. Please join us in seeking the lost for Europe.